States and did a film of herself as she was in the process. And I'm like, what? Why would you run a marathon? So her doctor said not to do it, and her friend said not to do it. She was getting all kinds of body pain and symptoms. And what she found was even though she was pushing herself, she would feel worse, but overall the worse got less and less and less and less. And she was able to do the marathon with consequences. But after she stopped that heavy training, her function was way higher than it was prior to that. So I had the opportunity to ask her, like, well, how has this changed your life? And she goes, well, I exercise all the time now because now I can actually do stuff that I previously was completely unable to do. I have a much higher quality of life. So I don't recommend training for a marathon, and she doesn't recommend it either. But it was, her point was that even if you overdo it by way too much, eventually you will heal and recover and you will build. So it can be scary when you're like, oh gosh, I've really done it, now I'm sore for 2 weeks. You know, so I just tell people, wait till you've recovered and then try it again, less. Incrementally. If you were sore for 2 weeks, do like 3/4 less, you know. If you were sore for 5 days, do half, you know. The goal being 1 or 2 days of soreness after an exercise bout would be the most I want to have someone.
Heather, does CoQ10 lower the muscle?
Muscle soreness?
Yeah, it doesn't?
I don't know. It might. CoQ10 is one of the supplements that in the current literature is recommended for people with EDS.
It is.
Yeah. CoQ10 was way up there on the, like, for many different symptoms, and vitamin C was up there. Fish oil and omega-3 fatty acids were really up there too. And then our local Dr. Childers recommends taking Great Lakes Kosher Gelatin, the green bottle. It has amino acids.
Is it gelatin?
It's gelatin, yeah. So it basically has amino acids that support connective tissue growth and development, but it also supports brain chemistry too. So the same amino acids that are used to build the building blocks of like the anti-anxiety and antidepressant chemicals in our brain, which are also the anti-pain chemicals.
And what was the name of that again?
It's called Great Lakes Kosher Gelatin. The green bottle is the hydrosylated form, which I believe means it's been converted to a usable form. So if you're having an enzyme issue where you can't convert, it also doesn't make it really thick and jelly-like, so it's not as gross. And it tastes better.
I've heard MSM helps with muscle pain and stuff.
Does what help with muscle pain?
MSM, I've heard it helps.
It can, yeah. There's a different article that was not proving anything, but proposing that maybe there's these certain things that we should take, and that was in that article. So I've taken all of it, and I would say the gelatin is a big one, the vitamin C is a big one for me, but we're all zebras, right? So we're all a little different. You know, so you gotta figure out for you what works. Yeah. Okay, so weight bearing and loading is really important for bone hardening. So by being on your bones and pressing on them, you actually make them harder. By pulling on them with like a weight machine, the place that the muscles attached gets firmer and harder, so the area can stiffen a little bit. So that theoretically would be really important for maintaining your bone hardness. To be doing weight bearing exercises. And then avoiding cold temperatures while you exercise. In the cold, the collagen fibers can contract and they can even have a little retraction of circulation, and so then that can make it a little bit more uncomfortable. Even people really high phenomenon of Raynaud's phenomenon, the purple cold hands. The muscles tend to get more tense in the cold, so wearing a scarf, so if you tend to get neck and headache pain, make that part of your outfit in the winter, you know, keep your neck warm. That can be really important. I think 70% of people with EDS are really sensitive to cold and 30% are really sensitive to hot. So I'm the other way, I'm always hot, I'm sweating right now. Yeah. It's funny because in my office, like we have like the split, like there's the hot people and the cold people, so the thermostat thing is just, it's just a comedy, it's pretty funny. Okay, so functional movements. teaching someone how do you move from here to there without it hurting. It's a quick way to get out of pain, and it's a great way to get, again, that buy-in of the patient. Be like, okay, you might know something that's helpful. I'll do your dumb exercise, or I'll whatever, because who wants to, like, it doesn't make sense to exercise. Like, we're programmed to, like, do things for survival, and it does not seem like that's for survival. So it's really hard even for me to stay on a regular regimen. So I always tell people, like, don't worry, fall off the bandwagon, just get started, go back to your first sheets that we started with, and work back up. And just keep trying. So doing the right posture, moving from sit to stand. How does someone sit? How do they stand? What's their sleeping posture, their surface? Memory foam beds tend to be a big hit for a large majority of EDS people. People that carry a lot of body weight in a certain body part, they don't like the memory foam beds because that body part sinks. So if you're evenly distributed, that works great. If you've got really large body areas like huge shoulders or huge hips, that's going to sink and not feel good. So latex bed is another option, or trying them out. You really want the contours so that your body is contoured around and you're not weight bearing directly on the bony prominences.
How are air and water beds?
They can be great too. I would say water beds with a lot of baffles. Otherwise you're going to sink in, which is not going to be great. And I've had a number of people that really like the sleep number beds where you can put the number up to the level you like and your partner gets their own level, especially if you're with someone who's not EDS. You need to have your own level. So they're more expensive, but yeah, those get a lot of positive reviews from my patients as well.
Thank you.
Well, and then just adding pillows for support. So, my big joke is I've got the boyfriend in the bed, which is the pillow. At all times, like, sorry, I'm cheating on you. So body pillows are awesome, There's also this letdown effect when you get the pressure from the pillow against your body. It gives you a sense of where you are in space. So it really helps the body to relax and let go, and you'll sleep deeper. And so I've had people surround themselves, or kids will have them surround themselves with stuffed animals, all the way down their back and all the way down their front, and then they suddenly aren't flopping all over the bed as much, and they're sleeping more soundly. And then again, getting the quality of sleep is so important for healing. That's when we do our recovery and our healing. So if there's a place to invest, it's in stuff that's going to help you sleep better. So bracing can be really helpful too. So bracing for flare-ups. I don't usually recommend wearing a brace 100% of the time, all the time, unless you're like lined up for surgery and you're just going to make it through to the surgery, So when something's bothering you, putting the brace on, or prevention. So I'm going to go do this activity. The last time I threw my back out doing it, I'm going to wear a back brace or a belt to hold my pelvis together while I do that activity. So it's hard to remember when it's not hurting to brace though. So getting that as a habit, like, oh, I'm going to play soccer, I must wear my SI belt and my orthotics and tape my knees. Like that has to happen. The doctors will say, like, hey, if you wear a brace 100% of the time, you're going to lose the tensile strength in those tissues because you haven't stressed the tissue. And so that will be the issue. Most people, even if they're wearing an ankle brace because they sprain their ankle every time or they whatever, they're sleeping without it, and so they are probably moving at least a little bit without it. So we kind of have to think about the pros and cons, like what's the repercussions of not wearing the brace. Sometimes that's the only choice right now. And then so I like to teach patients the mechanics of a specific function. So for example, reaching overhead, instead of reaching up where you're tensing this muscle and making on your neck, and you reach from here, where the shoulder's down, and then, grabbing out like that. Does the shoulder pull forward and into a bad place that's going to make it sore? Or can we remember to hold the ball back in the socket? That's going to limit how far I can go. So I have to remember, like, okay, well, if it's higher than this, that's not going to be good for me repetitively. Maybe I can get by with one cup, but if I'm doing the whole dishwasher, I need a step stool. So making some accommodations for some of those limits. Question?
No.
Okay.
Just experimenting.
Experimenting.
Doing.
Okay, good. We can all try together. So that, similar for the hips. The hips tend to ride forward in the socket for a lot of people because the hips are loose. And then if we sit with the legs crossed, it kind of pops it up and forward even more. So remembering not to do that, and try to sit and get it back and down, and it's a little more awkward to think about engaging your hips or think about engaging your butt muscles or that kind of a thing. So I tend to teach people to stand differently or to walk differently. People will stand like this, which doesn't use ease at all. So then it puts a lot of stress on, you hang on the ligaments in the front, and this is an energy saving tactic, but there's a lot of load at the low back. So I teach people to pull the hips back under and try to get a line from the ear, the shoulder, the hip, and the ankle all lined up. And try to make that, it feels really weird at first. People go like, there's no way I'm standing straight. I'm like, okay, I'll take a picture of you from the side, and we'll show them like, look. I'm like, oh, I felt like I was like, doing this, it was really awkward at first. So getting more natural with that kind of a thing. And then in walking, trying to not lead forward again, because that puts a lot of load here, trying to fall step to step, which will use the hips a little bit more again. As we go down the legs, it's really common to have flat feet or fallen arches, and not with everybody, but with the majority of people with EDS, there's a tendency to fall into the arches, and the knees rotate in and the hips pull in. And that put a big load on the knee. The knee's meant to be a hinge, and so if it's twisted, it's like taking your hinge and like yanking your cupboard door off like this instead of like that. And so trying to learn how to hold the arches up and learn how to hold the knees to the front, that uses the hip muscles and the foot muscles. They can be fatiguing because you're having to be active all the time holding, and you're not just relaxing into where you are. And so developing the resiliency, the endurance in those muscles to do it, and then that whole 10,000 reps till you learn something new thing, like not getting frustrated that you've caught yourself again standing like this, you've gotta keep catching yourself. And I talk about posture all day long at work, and I'm like, okay, let's all fix our posture because I'm off too, that's my living. So just know that if you give your body a little bit of a break, it goes a long way. If your body just gets a little bit of a chance to have some blood flow and less stress in an area, it's like, oh, thank you, that was awesome. So, and so the other thought on the mechanics of a movement is that we have to think about moving where most people don't. Like they just reach up in the cupboard and grab it. We have to go like, okay, set it, get it. I like that. Set it, get it. I'm kind of a dork, but that could be a bumper sticker. So same thing with the legs, I'm going to set them and then I'm going to walk. Or I'm going to, lean forward and then walk. So again, you won't have to consciously think about it 10,000 reps later. So your goal might be that 2 years from now, someone takes a picture of you and you're standing right and you weren't thinking about it, right? So don't get too frustrated if it's not right away. And it's, again, I like to pick one thing at a time. So I'm like, okay, this month I'm working on driving all the way to work with my head back to the headrest. I'm just trying to get there and be like, oh, I'm still here, look at that, I'm not doing this. And tense up and head forward because it's putting a lot of stress. And so just be patient with yourself, keep picking off a body part at a time, and you'll get there. Multi-directional instability, when you say that word to a physical therapist, they think shoulder, because that's the usual place, but people with EDS can have multi-directional instability to anything. We were taught in PT school that the hip will never dislocate. It's too stable to do that. It's the deepest socket in the body. It does not happen. There was this one football player, Bo Jackson, whose leg got popped out, and he was actually strong enough to pull it out, and they were like, it was crazy because that never happens. Well, I can't even tell you how many patients I've had that have hips that dislocate. And I'm like, whoa, what's happening to your hip? It goes off the back, it goes off the front. And so we're a little different. Not all of us are like that, but it's really common to have shallow sockets. So instead of a nice deep cup where the ball is really covered and it's in there, to be a little more shallow. So those dogs with hip dysplasia, we have that. Well, not everybody, but it's very common. And also in the shoulders, that's another ball and socket joint. The elbow is this deep bone that goes like this and it stops, the bone hits and stops. Well, ours go way backwards, and my guess is that the shape of the socket again isn't very deep, it's like a plate. So it just keeps going until the elbow bends way back. So it may be bony shape, it may not just be ligaments. And so we don't know exactly why the bones are shaped differently. It could be that there's a genetic predisposition for a different shape of bone. But it could also be that developmentally, as we're putting weight and we're learning to stand and learning to walk, the pressure of the thigh bone into the hip is supposed to gradually make the hip bone grow around it and grow deeper. And my guess is we just bend. We're like, well, why do that when I could do that? I'll just do that. So then our hip sockets end up in the wrong place, so they end up more shallow. And probably that's a developmental issue. So it's a little hard to know in an infant by taking an x-ray, because they're gonna look just like everybody else. Every infant has a little teeny tiny socket and a little, and then they grow. So, so you can't really say it's congenital. It's like developmental dysplasia. So the thought then is like, okay, well, if you get your kids early enough, weight bearing into the right position and not letting them cheat and not letting them, developing the strength of the movement patterns, could they develop deeper hip sockets? And that we don't know. I have done my own little trial of one where I have a kid and a mom, and they both measured out with the same amount of foot flatness and turnout in their feet. And then we caught the kid at 9 years old and started orthotics and trying to hold the foot in neutral and hold the foot in neutral and make it develop. And he's got half as much of his mom now at age 14. So I think it's possible, that catching it early, embracing, and making the joint hold its form and teaching the kid the mechanics can be really helpful. There was an article I read that they were having infants in orthotics for 1 month to help them, like infants that weren't even walking, to help develop the movement pattern in the feet so that they learned the movement pattern, and then once they have it, and then they walk that way. And they were showing benefits. So I thought that was pretty interesting and exciting. So that's where I get my passion somewhat, is that if we can educate more providers, there'll be so much more prevention and less trouble in surgeries later on if we can screen and catch it early. And this is a genetic problem, so it's a 50% chance that anyone that has EDS will have a kid with EDS. So if the parent knows they have it, they should really have their kids screened. Unfortunately, there was not a really great, reliable screening tool though for under the age of 16. So there's a lot of work happening at Cincinnati Children's Hospital though, where they are using the adult scale to put people in or out of the group when they're doing research, and so I don't know if they'll eventually have a paper out that says yes, under 16 you can use this scale or that scale. Yeah, so I would just try to work on giving my patients resources. Like if you do get a pain or a flare or your joint went backwards and it hurt, what do you do? What brace can you use? What self-treatment strategies can you use to reduce the pain and inflammation as soon as possible? With mast cell activation, we're more prone not only emotionally to get a stressor and kind of go, but for our joints to kind of get a stressor and go like, and like make this huge inflammatory response. And there's some thought that that's mast cell activation in our bodies, where the soldier cell, the first on the scene with an injury, comes and mounts an enormous response to a small stimulus. And so there can be more scar tissue because of that, there can be more pain, sensitivity because of that, more histamines because of that. And so taking it seriously and treating with anti-inflammatories can be really helpful.